Peeling back the programming. Growing up in rural Kentucky, my primary social activity was attending church 3 times a week, with a full week of revival in spring and fall and 2 weeks of church camp in the summer. My family was in church every time the door was open. When I went away to college, I met people from all over the world with many beliefs different than my own. I remember coming home one weekend and asking the minister at my home church, "How can there be only one way to enter heaven if there are so many ways to communicate with God?" This memory holds a significance as I began to question my own beliefs. As I grew older, I began to socially drink, and this, I felt, separated me from God. Despite having these thoughts, there was always a feeling of being connected to the divine when I was alone in nature, even though I knew my actions would be judged by others to be wrong. I felt truly close to God simply by being quiet, while the teaching of my childhood required me to attend regular services and not take part in activities outside of this. Over the years, I learned to question what was being presented as news, as it became obvious to me that it was not the goal to report what was currently happening, but rather to tell the viewer or listener how they should feel about what was being reported. On my way to work one day, about 4 years ago, I was listening to a podcast on which the host was stressing the importance of being brutally honest with oneself. It occurred to me that I was seeking approval from others by overproducing at my job. I had seen my father do this all his working life, and believed it to be a strong work ethic. I was essentially living a lie and getting no real satisfaction from it. This realization led to an emotional breakdown and time away from work to reevaluate my priorities. Fast forward a couple of years, and we were being told we had to return to work on site after working from home for nearly 2 years. I felt a deep resistance at the thought of returning on site to the Children's Research Hospital. It now represented so much that I could not believe in due to the global experience that was still happening. Listening to my intuition, I gave my notice, cashed in my pension, and began earnestly peeling back the layers of programming to find out what my true beliefs are. I spent much time alone, meditating, reading, and listening to differing views. Through these experiences, I was able to see through my own emotional reactions how attached I was to stories and narratives that had nothing whatever to do with me. Little by little, I began to loosen my hold on each of these as they came up in interactions with others. Observing people has always been a favorite pastime, and I find it fascinating how personally involved we allow ourselves to be in other people's stories. It's become important to me to loosen my hold on any set narrative, even the ones that come from familiar or favorite sources. The more tightly I have found myself holding onto what I previously held as a belief, the more I have felt the need to observe why that particular thing was affecting me so strongly. Simply observing the response that rises up in me helps me to loosen my grip on it, particularly if what I am responding to has nothing to do with my own personal experience. It now occurs to me that I can allow others their viewpoint or storyline without needing to agree or be disagreeable. I can simply say that it is or isn't my personal experience. When I remove myself from the stories that others tell me, it's much easier to be compassionate with that person without having to convince them they are wrong or that my opinion is right. We each have our own journey and will have individual experiences which will lead us to our own beliefs. If the other person is not able to accept this, perhaps it isn't time for the conversation. Every one of us has the right to choose what we believe, even if it seems obvious that belief is wrapped in programming. I will simply bear witness to my own personal experience and ask questions as I attempt to let go of the need to control any given outcome on my continued journey to get to the heart of my own beliefs.